In 1977, government engineers in Houston did something strange. They built 3 identical houses, left them completely empty, and spent 2 summers watching them heat up and cool down. In the first house, no mechanical system was fitted. The second used a central air conditioner, drawing around 3,000 watts to chill the air. And in the third, a whole house fan was added, pulling 400 watts. After the 2 years, the study concluded that in temperatures under 82 degrees, the fan system was keeping the house just as comfortable as the air conditioner. And in the decades since then, whole house fans have been proven to cut summer cooling costs by anywhere from 50 to 90%. Yet despite their stellar track record, fewer than 5% of American homes use them. In this video, we're going to explore everything you need to know about whole house fans, including how they work, the main problems to look out for, and whether you should be fitting one in your home this summer. But before any of this makes sense, we need to look at where the heat in your house actually lives, because it isn't really in the air. Think about your bedroom on a hot night. The sun went down hours ago, and the outside air has cooled off, yet the room is still warm and stuffy. That heat is coming out of the walls. All day, the sun pours energy into your roof and walls, and the dense materials your house is built from soak it up and release it slowly. So your house becomes a giant battery, except instead of electricity, it stores heat, and it spends all evening discharging that heat back into the rooms you're trying to sleep in. Against this assault of unwanted heat gain, your air conditioner is fighting a losing battle, chilling the air in your house and blowing it back out in an endless cycle. But because air barely holds any heat, the moment the unit shuts off, the warm structure radiates heat back into that freshly cooled air, and the whole process starts again. But a whole house fan attacks this problem from the opposite direction. Instead of recycling and chilling the same indoor air, it throws that air away and replaces it. The mechanism itself is simple. A large fan is set in the ceiling of your top floor, usually a central hallway, with the blades facing up into the attic, helped along by a few open windows on the ground floor. The spinning blades draw warm air up out of your living space and force it into the attic, creating a gentle suction that tugs cool outdoor air in through your open windows. That air sweeps through every room as a steady breeze on its way to the fan. All that warm air piling into the attic builds up pressure that shoves the 150-degree attic air out through the roof vents. So you empty the hottest part of your house and the living space in one stroke. It doesn't sound like much, but the work this simple system can do is impressive. A whole house fan cycles the entire volume of air in your home 15 to 22 times an hour, meaning you'll experience a complete change-out every 3 or 4 minutes. And because that moving air washes continuously over your walls, floors, and framing, it doesn't just cool the air, it helps pull the stored heat out of the structure itself, discharging the battery your house spent all day charging. There's also another important benefit at play here too. Moving air speeds up the evaporation of sweat, the way a breeze feels good on a warm day, even when the air isn't cold. That airflow alone makes a room feel 5 to 10 degrees cooler the moment you switch the fan on, long before the air temperature has dropped. People have been cooling buildings by moving air long before anyone could put a number on it. The clearest old example is the windcatcher, or badger, the tall towers that still rise over the rooftops of cities across Iran. These adobe chimneys caught the high desert wind and funneled it down into the rooms below, dropping indoor temperatures by as much as 22 degrees, with no machinery and no power at all. Your whole house fan runs on the same physics those builders were working with centuries ago. But the version most of us would recognize arrived with the electric motor. By the early 20th century, the powered whole house fan was the standard way American homes stayed cool. And through the 1950s and 60s, especially across the South, it was just how you got through summer. Then cheap central air conditioning arrived in the 1970s and pushed the fan aside. There was a real reason it lost, beyond just being older. The early fans were brutally loud. A blade bolted straight to the ceiling joists made a racket people compared to a helicopter in the attic, and nobody wanted to run that through the long, quiet, overnight hours the system actually needs. Then in 1999, an electrical contractor named Dana Stevenson was installing one of the old, noisy units when his customer said he wished someone would build a quiet one. Stevenson went home to his garage and did exactly that. He hung the motor from the attic rafters and connected it to the ceiling grill with a flexible, sound-absorbing duct, so the vibration never reaches the living space. His company brought the first model to market in 2003 and patented the design in 2009, creating the template for nearly every good whole house fan sold today. And the hard numbers behind the whole house fan are among the most thoroughly measured cooling systems there are, going back almost 50 years. The empty houses in Houston were the start. The National Bureau of Standards, the agency now called NIST, ran those tests through the summers of 1977 and 78. They found that swapping a whole house fan for the air conditioner kept the homes comfortable anytime the outdoor temperature fell below 82 degrees. The fan drew 400 to 500 watts against the air conditioner's 2,500 to 3,000, and did the same job whenever the outside air was even slightly cooler than the inside. And plenty of real-world reports back this lab data up. In Sacramento, where the hot days are followed by cool nights, a homeowner running a fan off-peak recorded an average summer bill of $80 a month, whereas a neighbor on the same street, on central air alone, paid $140. That's a $60 saving every month. But the most rigorous real-world proof comes from Karsten Crossings, where 144 homes were built with automatic night ventilation and studied against identical homes built to code. On the hottest days, when the thermometer hit 104 degrees, the night ventilation homes cut daily cooling energy by 22% and peak hour demand by 42%. While on milder days, the peak reduction climbed to 48%, and some homeowners logged total cooling savings between 40 and 80% against their code-built neighbors. But the benefits reach past your monthly bill, too. Every hour the fan runs is an hour your air conditioner sits off instead of cycling, so the compressor wears slower and pushes back the day you replace a unit that costs $5,000 to $12,000. And the fan flushes the house with fresh outdoor air every few minutes, improving air quality, where central air just recirculates the same stale air all day. So if it's this cheap, this effective, and this well documented, why isn't there one in every house? And it comes down to plain economics and a couple of real limits. The single biggest limiting factor is the climate. The fan cools by pulling in outdoor air, so it only helps when that air is cooler and drier than the air inside. It needs a real day-to-night swing, with the air dropping below about 67 degrees at night. That covers a huge slice of the country, from the dry Southwest to the Pacific Northwest. But in a humid climate like the Gulf Coast or the Deep South, where the night barely cools and the air stays thick with moisture, the fan just drags damp air through your house. It can make things feel worse, and over time, that moisture can swell wood and feed mold. Then, of course, a large portion of people simply don't know these exist, or confuse them with the small fan that only ventilates the attic, not the rooms you live in. Okay, so you know what it does and where it pays off. Now let's look at how you can put it to work. Start with the factor that will make or break an effective system, your climate. Before you spend $1, be sure your summer nights drop comfortably below your daytime indoor temperature, ideally under about 67 degrees, with air that isn't soaked in humidity. If your evenings stay hot and sticky, this isn't your system. For the hardware, you want a modern ducted fan, the kind that hangs the motor in the attic and pipes the air down through an insulated duct, so it runs near silent. One of the most common brands is QuietCool. The fan runs roughly $450 to $1,500, with most homes landing around a couple thousand all in once installed, often with a reported payback period of 6 months to 2 years. If your ceiling has a clear bay between the joists, with no wiring or pipes in the way, it's a real weekend job, a 14-inch cutout and a basic electrical connection, no joist cutting. If you'd be modifying trusses or running a new circuit, bring in an electrician and check whether your town wants a permit. There's one technical box most people overlook: your attic vents. The fan can only push air out as fast as the attic lets it escape, so if your roof vents are too small, the attic pressurizes, the airflow chokes, and the fan blows dust back down into your house. The rule of thumb is about 1 square foot of open vent area for every 750 cubic feet per minute the fan moves. If you come up short, add soffit or ridge vents before you rely on it. Then, the single rule that makes or breaks it day to day. Run it on the cool air, not the hot. Switch it on in the evening once the outside drops below the inside. Run it hard for half an hour to flush the day's heat out of the house and attic, then leave it on low overnight while you sleep. In the morning, before the outside heats back up, shut it off and close the windows. That traps the cool air and cool structure inside, so you coast through the early part of the day before your air conditioner lifts a finger. But if you run it backwards, with windows shut or through the afternoon heat, you'll just pull hot air through the house and wonder why it isn't working. Finally, there's a safety consideration with a whole house fan you'll want to remember, and that's a running fan needs enough open windows to feed it. If it doesn't have them, it'll go looking for air intake anywhere it can, including down your chimney, where it can pull soot out of a cold fireplace and into the room. So keep enough windows open, and make sure the fireplace is cold with its damper shut before you switch on. The whole house fan is a 100-year-old answer to a problem we've been overpaying to solve. The heat making your house uncomfortable lives in its walls and framing, not in its air. And the cheapest way to clear it is to open the windows on a cool night and sweep it all out. If you found this useful and want more low-cost ways to take control of your own home, subscribing is the best way to catch the next one. And if you were surprised that moving air can do the work of an air conditioner, wait until you see what a length of pipe buried 4 feet under your yard can do to the air inside your house. That one's up next.